IRC Media brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Board Report every Friday at 7 p.m. brought to you by IRC Media. We've got a great guest today. We've got gubernatorial candidate Bobby Williams. How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this evening?
Doing really good. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here with you and Bobby this evening.
Yeah. So, Bobby, how is the campaign trail going? You've got a whole state to cover.
Yeah, it's going very well. Like we just got done. I think we wrapped up 7 or 8 venues just in the month of January. So we've been all the way from St. Augustine, Hernando Beach, East Coast, West Coast, all the way down to Palm Beach, and just been pretty much booking events every day. So it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, you've got a rough race, but I see you're on the top 6 out of all the candidates. So that's really a good sign.
Yeah, especially for me coming out, not a non-establishment guy, coming really out of nowhere in a sense, and it's been a hard battle uphill, but we kind of got there, and it's been pretty exciting. We have a big forum in Leesburg with both Paul Renner and James Fishback, so it's gonna be pretty exciting.
Bobby, I got a question. Coming from outside the political landscape, just monetarily wise, what does it cost somebody not in politics to throw their hat in the ring, especially for governor? You don't have to give exact
Everything you
details.
got.
Yeah, everything you got.
Yeah,
I
it
can
really does.
imagine.
It's time, it's money, time. That's what people say. How you finance? I finance a lot of it myself, but local friends, people get behind me. It's been since we've been growing. It's been not a lot coming in, but it's coming in on a steady basis. But but it pretty much it takes everything you got.
Do you have numbers as far as what you're at as far as donations goes yet?
I think we're like 35 grand.
That's
But
great.
yeah, so we're at 35, and we only done one fundraiser so far. That was back in October, I believe. We done that fundraiser, and that's the only one we've done so far. So everything else has been as we go here. It's been 500 here, 100 there. Growing. So as we spend it, it stays just keep coming in.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that it costs so much to run for
Mhm.
public
It
office to
does.
get your name out there, but
Well, yeah, it's got to be where we got to get a level playing field to where these guys, these packs and stuff, to where, like I said, there's a lot of things I like to change, but to where we can get it just being a level playing field.
Yeah, because in those packs, you can have outsider foreign entities that kind of get in there. Because if you're a foreign entity, I don't know if everybody knows this, the foreign entity can't put into your pack, but if they hire somebody that's an American working for them, that person can put into the pack.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where we have foreign influence. We have pretty much big corporations buying seats, and really, at the end of the day, is what happens.
Yeah, and that really, it's not no longer representation of the people.
No, I mean, we think we have a voice and we have a vote, but in reality,
Mm.
reality, at the end of the day, we really, it's we're working on it, but maybe we can change that and working to change that. But it makes it a hard battle.
It should be a playing field because they're not there to represent the companies. They're there to represent the people. And when you do have the people actually backing you, your funds are low because you're not getting corporate funding. You're getting and the average person might do 1,000, maybe I think you can go up to 1,500 is yours. Or is it
3,000.
3,000? So yours
Yeah.
is 3,000. So you might have your 3,000 people, 5,500, and then your $50, your $100 here. And some of those events are hard because the local people can't always afford the events because the seating, you got to rent this big room. So the seating is usually around $100 or more, depending on where it's at. So it really is challenging. And I got to give it to you because I ran too, and I understand that grassroots level running is very, very difficult. It was
Yeah, and
hard.
Yeah, it's just like I said, and not we said you said it earlier, but in any other sport, you have a level playing field. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's whether it's Olympics, football, you have some sort now. Obviously, somebody has better talent than others and different things, and we understand that. And that should be where it's really the individual that's really winning the race, and not big corporations or big PACs or foreign entities or whatever that may be. And that's what I'd like to see change as governor. However, that we can work that out.
Yeah, and it could be because look, you're running for your state. So it should be totally level at the state level. At least start it there, if we're not going to do it federally, but at least start it at the state level because you get to go around and meet your people and have your people put the donations in so you get to meet them and bring you to their town. Like those donations will pay for you to make that travel to see them. How's the you also how do you guys get the what do they call it when we I totally have a brain fog. It's when you fill out the sheet to get on the ballot. Do you
Yeah,
guys do that at the government
signatures.
Petition.
level? The
Yeah,
signature.
no, I like doing signatures just because I did the math, and how many signatures you had to have compared to, every signature's got to be verified through supervisor elections at 10 cents, you know.
Mhm.
So you look at that compared to, I think it's 6% of the wage, and I'm not sure if it's the wage in 2026 because right now the governor makes like 150,000, but in 2027 it goes to 256,000, I believe. So it's like 6% of that. So it's like 12 grand. I think I've done the math.
Oh
So
wow.
it ain't from trying to run around and get signatures and verified. The math kind of equaled out to me. I'm like, for us, I'd rather spend the money and
Yeah, at that level, it makes a lot more sense because you're gonna have to spend your time more so trying to gather people in
right,
bigger places so that they can all meet you and have a Q&A with you, you
right,
know? And you've got to get around, and when you're knocking on doors, you're just wearing yourself out, really,
right,
you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
You're
And that's
totally
that's
wearing
what
yourself
that's
out.
what we've done. It's kind of the race we've kind of picked we're going to do, avenue we're going to go down. It's just let's just worry about money coming in and paying for it, and just obviously do the Q&As and get in front of people and meet and greets and that kind of stuff.
Bobby, did you purchase any billboards up and down the highways?
I have not yet. We've been social media. I own my business owns a couple different box trucks, and I paid put logos on the side of them. So we run them up and down the roads. It's kind of a paid billboard, rolling billboards. We do them.
Mm. Yeah, because the billboards, those go fast, I don't
Right.
know. If I was a gubernatorial, I probably would want one and like I would look at the interchanges and at least put one in each of the interchanges.
But you you
Big
you think you think
How
about
many
this.
interchanges do we have? I didn't even think about it before I said
Yeah,
it.
you're talking a lot of money. But you
Yeah,
think
they're
about
like
it every day.
10,000 a board.
We make fun of our youth today, but it's whether it's the youth, us, grandparents, every age. What do they have in front of them all day, every day? Their
The
phone.
device.
phone.
Yep.
The
So
phone.
you got to take it. I don't care where you go. You can go to your grocery store. I mean, everybody's on social media, and that's the only. If it wasn't for social media, I would have zero chance. So to me, what gives us the level playing field is social media because everybody's on it, and it's just learning to get them post out there and getting in that algorithm and allowing to grow because it's free in reality as long as you're not paying for it. So it's and everybody's on their phone.
So, Bobby, did you hire like a teenager to sit there all day and start?
No, actually, I enjoy it. That's what I do in the evenings when I go home. So from during the day and evenings, and I got some volunteers that that part of our ministry and stuff that do a lot of it. But I enjoy doing it. It's something I do, and I like enjoying and doing it. So it's just like creating reels every day and just trying to pop as many out there as we can. So, I mean, it's true. I mean, everybody's talking about millions of dollars in this, but it's if you everybody's on that phone. It's
Mhm.
right in front of and everybody's on social media. I mean, we talked about that earlier about, now you don't have big news networks, you got individual news networks.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
well, for us, the engagement is worth $1 million,
Yeah,
and for you, the same thing. Like just being approachable and responding to comments and reaching out. I mean, that's going to make you with more traction than uh, billboards, because when I drive by a billboard, the first thing I'm thinking is that costs a lot of money. You know,
Yeah,
that
they're like
costs a
they're
lot of
and
money.
anywhere from 10,000, you know,
and
it's
it's not interactive, you know, like you just said. I mean,
Right.
people hit me. I run my own page, so I make. I mean, the reason why I run my own page, I want to answer the questions like I need. I don't want AI answering my questions. I want people to know my answers, who I am, my view, my viewpoints, that kind of stuff. So well, I can't answer all of them. I try the best I can, but I at least do that. But the same way when people call my office or I get an email, I try to call them. Give me your number. Give me your cell phone number. Let me call you and talk to you. And it's that personal one on one that really people it wows people like, wow, I'm talking to a gubernatorial candidate on the phone. He actually called me because these other guys ain't calling. So
mhm.
and with social media, it makes it personal. You know, it's like, you know, I'm responding to their messages, instant messages, whatever. You know,
You're a human.
yeah.
We can
Well,
tell
that's
you're a
what.
human.
Well, it's funny you say that because people will go, "Hey, are you real?" Be- because I'm answering them. I'm answering quick and answering that. Like, are you real? Is this really Bobby Williams? And I can't tell you how many times I get that question. Are you really Bobby Williams? And
That's
oh
kind of
yeah,
flattering, you
oh it
know?
is, it is.
It's
So, and
like,
that's what you know. They tell me. It says we reached out to all these other candidates. They want to answer our questions. They want to answer the comments. They want to answer their phones. They won't do anything. So it's just so great that you'll reply and do that. So.
It
so
is.
so hey Bobby, I wanted to ask you, you know, you're running for gubernatorial. Have you been keeping close track of all the bills and the stuff that DeSantis is doing and taking note of what you might do differently or how you feel about that? Is there anything you want to share with us on that?
Well, obviously, my biggest thing is, you know, I love DeSantis done some good things. The good things he hasn't, you know, is really the HB 180 was a big one, you know, to where they're supposed to be adjusting it and fixing it. You know, we'll see the language that comes out. You know, it's allowing developers to come in here and pretty much destroy Florida. You know, one of my biggest things is, and they're not going to talk about it and do it because back to PACs and that, a lot of their donation monies are donors, or donors are these developers, and they're not going to change that. So I'm watching to see what they'll do with that, whether they take the language out of it, that percentage that allows developers to do whatever. Obviously, one of my biggest things I've been running on before even DeSantis even thought about it was no property tax. So I'm kind of seeing what bill they're going to throw in there. There's like 5 different translations, you know, and that's part of the problem with whether it's lobbyists or lawyers we have in government and people running for office. You know, they're not really who they say they are, but they word things. Let's make it simple. You know, let's make it these bills so simple to where keep these lawyers out of it, to where we can really make things happen and happen the way they should be. You know, a lot of these bills they sound good, but when you dive into them, you know, back used to they call it pig fat or whatever. You know, that you get the nonsense
Pork.
that's tied pork, the
Yep.
pork. You know, the pork
Yeah.
that's in there and tied in.
So could you tell our viewers a little bit more about HB 180 that don't really understand what that is?
Well, really, that was created for the hurricane victims. You know, it was a normal, like in a normal situation for a county or city. If you demolish a house, your house is tore down, or something happens, you have a year to build it back without paying impact fees. And really, what that was really positioned for was all these hurricane victims to be able to, because it's going to take time. It might be 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, but it allow
Mhm.
you to build back, you know, back same you had before, because obviously new regulations, new this, that, you kind of get a similar build. And that was the intention of that build. But then obviously developers found loopholes in it to where they can come and do what they want and build in places they shouldn't be building and get away with it.
Yeah, and how do they get away with that?
I don't know the exact language in that, but it just because it's saying as a landowner or owner, you're allowed to build back or build this in a certain situation is really because what happens before, maybe you were on a smaller lot, you know, a 50 by 100 lot, and really now with new zoning that you couldn't get away with it. So it was allowing you to use different zoning. It's pretty much allowing you to kind of use different zonings or rezone stuff to build in areas that probably are not buildable.
Mm. How's your nonprofit doing? You have a nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Freedom Tour. We do food disaster relief. No, we did I think 1.2 million pounds in January. Of just food and hygiene and stuff. No, it's still going good, going strong. We work with over, I think now we're down to, you know, a couple hundred, about 100 ministries we work with, and sheriff's departments and police departments. We're on the EOC, obviously in our county. We do that for free. Everything we do is for free, so it's not federal grants or state grants, that kind of stuff. It's just local donations that come in and through other ministries and different things. But it's growing good. It's still good. Still reaching people, changing lives, making impacts in our community, and a lot of people don't know that or see that. And I get, you can't just hand free stuff out and that's their deal. But a lot of criminals are not stealing, breaking in stores and stealing stuff, because there are nonprofits out there that are helping feed them and getting the stuff they need.
Very good. Yeah.
Because what happens is we talked about earlier. We talked about affordability. So the
Mhm.
average person can't even hardly afford to live. You can't afford to pay rent. You can't afford, electric bills keep increasing. Groceries keep increasing. So when you do have nonprofits out there that can help you with $50, $100, $200 a month, and especially feed kids, what we do a lot of that is a lot of kids, the only time they get fed is in schools. So it keeps neighborhood crime down. It keeps people from getting hangry, which can change situations, and it's just an avenue to help people. Because really, people don't understand what I do. There's a lot of corporate waste out there. I mean, like
Mhm.
I said, 1,000,000 pounds of food and stuff, product donated to us for free. Our cost of logistics that normally would go into the trash, and we procure that and obviously get that and get it into the right hands.
Wow. You've got a business mind. You know how to think ahead. So as a governor, um, with everything that's going on in New York under Mam Dammy, and we're south on the East Coast. Take 95, get the hell out of New York, and let's go to Florida. What do you see in the future of Florida, and how are you going to handle that? We're going to have a lot of people coming down here. We already do, but it also causes housing, kids. New York has a different system than we do. They have a lot of services there that when people leave there with children with disabilities, they're going to come down here and they're not going to have those same disabilities, and they're going to be like, well, we need services and all this stuff. So have you had like an idea of like what it might look like in 6 years or
So the problem with every state, and Florida is one of the ones, just as many as guilty, and we see it with the federal government. There's plenty of money out there. The problem is money goes into the wrong hands. We see it with Doge Florida, and it's misused and misrepresented. And a lot of them are, non-government organizations or NGOs, all that kind of stuff. That's it's corruption at its finest, and it's just as guilty in Florida as it is in the federal government. And so there's plenty of money for these necessities that people need and organizations. The problem is it's going into the wrong hands. And the problem with that is we have too many lobbyists in the state, and whether it's the governor or other people, they're listening to lobbyists instead of going into their community and finding who's doing the work, where can the money go. And I see that, in our level in our county. It's just there's so much money out there that goes in the wrong hands. And there's organizations out there, and a lot of them are faith based. I'm a faith based person because I believe our country is founded on one nation under God. And so I truly believe if we get the money into the right faith based hands, you'll see things done a lot better, and efficiently and cost effectively. Like for us, we moved 1,000,000 pounds of food, which you had to buy that, roughly $4 million. You had to buy it, and we did that on maybe $20,000, $30,000. So I'm not the only one. There's other agencies like me that do a lot with a little. And the problem is, I'll just use a perfect example. You got organizations like Feeding America, that suck up all the money. They got $22 million coming to food. And you go to their office, they have, and like one office in Tampa, they got 65 employees in there, and it's about raising money. And and it's just, I mean, we see it. It's a perfect example. I believe it was, I misquoted this the other day, but a company called Core, which is I think Sean Penn owns, part of the USAID deal. The governor, because the lobbyists were in there, the governor gave their hurricane organization 20, they're not even from Florida, gave them $23 million for hurricane relief. And I've been to hurricanes.
wow.
I've watched what these guys do. They go in there when the cameras are there, they're in front of the cameras. As soon as the cameras leave, they leave. And Hurricane Ian's a perfect example. If you go on their website and look at Core, what they put in to Hurricane Ian, it was like maybe like 173 tarps, maybe 60,000 pounds in food and this kind of stuff. And they're getting 23 million. We put 6.5 million pounds of product into Hurricane Ian, and we got zero from the federal government or state government. So
It's totally doable. I agree with you because we have Indian River County has become the county that's known for anybody who wants to open a nonprofit that they will get funding.
yeah,
Literally
so
will. I mean, our NGOs get $4.3 million of taxpayer money, and we have one called the Learning Alliance, which still hasn't met their goals. in what 11 years, Mike?
yeah,
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much
It's like,
money.
and it's everywhere.
wouldn't
It's
you
just
And
fire
then
a company?
they push back at the sheriff's budget increase slash request. But yeah, it is ridiculous. And they claim they're broke, but they're giving what, 6 million away to
yeah,
NGOs in this tiny little county.
yeah, and that's where. So that's back to you know doging these counties and officials. And same way with, we'll just say, we'll back to affordability or whatever. Well, we got into that, but these electrical companies can donate millions and millions of dollars. They do that to all these PACs to get these guys voted in. But our electric bills keep going up. How about you don't donate to the PACs and get our electric bills to go down? But it's just, so for me as a governor standpoint is create boards. All the way, there's already boards in place, but a lot of them need to be obviously replaced and new people in there. But I'd like to create a board of not just like the CEFO did, in Glazio, what his name is, Doge in the county, but really making accountability and where's this money going, who's it need to go to, and really looking into not, and lobbyists is the biggest problem. They're lobbyists are winning this money and getting this money is going into the wrong hands, and the governor can change a lot of that.
Yeah, I think that the minute anybody can get their funding from a corporation, whether it's a real estate, you know, a, s- a supermarket company, if it's not coming directly from the people's pocket, it's corrupt because you can't keep up. It ruins that level playing field,
Right.
and everybody says, "Oh, it's a First Amendment thing," or it's, you should be able to donate as much as you want. I'm like, well, then what's the point of getting into a race because you're just going to be overshadowed
Yeah.
by the money, the media, the this, the that, the this, and you'll people will barely see you. Look, some of the other candidates that are in there running, we don't even know who they are because their names don't come up.
Yeah, and that's
You
like if I
know?
run into it, I go across the state and people are like, let's say if there's 50 people in the room, 10 of them, I never knew you was running. I had no idea. I thought only Byron Donalds was the only candidate.
Hmm.
And it's like, it's sad. I said, I've been in the race. I jumped in the race the same time as he did, but same people. And we see that the two people you can't trust in this world is the media and the government. Right. And everybody still believes the media and the government, and it's like, y'all got to learn to do your homework and look. And that's the great thing with social media. If it wasn't for social media, a lot of us wouldn't even have an opportunity or chance.
Not in today's day and age, not at all.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't be here doing what we're doing either, and we'd still be tuning into mainstream
Yeah.
cable programming.
Yeah. And
Uh,
they,
Yeah.
they, they only tell you it's like. They only tell you what they want you to hear. And it's a perfect example. I love, because it makes good entertainment for me, is like, we'll just say Fox 8 News, Byron Donalds is the front runner. But then you read, according to his campaign. And I'm like,
right, right.
that's just, I just laugh. I'm like, call me. According to my campaign, I'm the front runner.
Yeah. So let me hit you with some softball questions, Bobby.
Bring them on.
Um, Florida is got the fourth largest economy in the country, 15th if you considered us a sovereign nation. That's a big budget and a big economy to play with. What would be your biggest investment that would be the catalyst to put us above California and New York? And well, I don't know if you'll beat them, but to get us right now, we're falling behind California and New York as far as our economy goes. What would your investment in Florida be to push us past those?
Well, I don't think at the end of the day, investment, it ain't about money. It's about sustainability. How can we sustain as a state, without, I'm back to affordability. I mean, bringing money into our state don't always help. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens a lot of times, we'll just look at California. You have California is who they are because they have all these large businesses in there. But as me and you know, large businesses put the small businesses out of business. And what supports whether it's Florida or our country is small businesses. We have to really give an edge back to our small businesses to where, that's where the wealth grows. It's like you have Walmart come in, it puts out four small department stores or small mom and pops are out of business now because of Walmart. And now you got $10, $12, which obviously minimum wage now is 14, fixing to be $15 an hour. You have $15 an hour people, compared to small business, they were probably four or five different family members really making decent money, spending decent money, that kind of stuff. So I don't really think is really making the economy, just trying to make bigger numbers as much as how do we sustain the small business owners, how do we get
Right.
them where they need to be, and a lot of that coming from our farmers. We really have to invest, quit allowing these developments come in, run prices up, not only destroy our wetlands, destroy everything, but they run market prices up to where it's running everything really what they're doing with rent and everything else. They're creating their own markets, and really it's making Florida unaffordable. So one thing I would like to do is like pretty much ban BlackRock, China, foreign investors, all this coming here and buying up big land and creating unfair market.
Right.
Well,
So you mentioned Walmart. Walmart employs 1.6 million, I believe, just here in the United States. Unfortunately, they did knock out most of the mom and pop stores. But having said that, they do employ a big chunk of our community. What would be your incentives for companies that we have to live with to pay their people more? Would you offer tax incentives, or would you levy maybe, I don't know, tariffs or something for wage
Yeah.
increases?
Well,
And
I would probably look more into taxing them and doing that and pulling the tax burden off the smaller guys. Because what happens, what I see, it's back to, one of my favorite sayings, biblical sayings, you know them by their fruit. So what do they produce? What are they accounted for? And I think DeSantis said the other day, he was like, what are they accounted for was his word. So what happens is once you give Walmart or Amazon, whomever, tax incentives, they're really not passing it on. They keep that in their profits. So it's really just it's the fruit of what they've done. We give them tax incentives all the time and say you're coming here and improve lives, but really it's never passed down. It's just
mhm.
passed up.
so would it
So
be like a well, because we don't have an income tax, so it's not like, I don't know what taxing them more would do for, let's say, if I'm an employee, for my wages. But would a strategic partnership with them in increasing wages for maybe Florida employees, is that something
well,
Governor Williams would sit down at the table and with these
You
big
mean
companies?
I'd always like to look at that, but the problem is, it's back with minimum wage. You can't force people to pay
Right.
people more because any company, it's economics. More you make them to pay, the more their product goes up. They keep their profit margins, so it's a capitalism we work in. So it's hard. Really, what's really happening in a lot of things is it's affordability, and it's creating markets. So you have to have fair markets, whether that's real estate or electric. To me, I don't think you can push a market and make a market to where people can pay more or do more, because ultimately we see that with minimum wage, right? We've seen it in California, now we see it in Florida. No longer do we have a dollar value mill, because of minimum
mhm.
wage.
Yeah,
So I'm a business owner. If you're going to make me pay my guy more, I'm going to charge more. So
that's
it's just
right.
basic economics. But you have to get it to where what can we do as a governor to put more money in your pocket? And number one is electric bills. We've talked about over the last years, federal government has done solar fields, which I'm against, but they've gotten so much money for greening and doing it better this, but it's never passed down to me and you. It just puts
Mhm.
more money in their pocket. We have to make these electrical companies quit raising rates. And obviously, as a governor, you create that board, and that board's got to go, no, you're going to bring these rates down and quit. Record, they got record profits and record increases. So we have to look, how can we, from a governor standpoint, because you can't create the market, but we can create taxes and electric bills or water bills. You're fixing to see a huge water increase come across the state. And how that's allowing to happen is Swift Mud and other organizations behind it's corruption. They care less about me and you. They're finding ways to raise your rates and water bills instead of getting money back in your pocket.
Will that have anything to do with the new septic regulations that you're going to be forced to? A lot of communities are forced to go on sewer or replace their septic.
No, what happened is obviously overdevelopment. We've allowed people to come in Florida and we're full. We don't have the water, haven't had the water, and we keep allowing to build these houses. And through the HB 180 kind of thing, or not HB 180, but there was other. When Rick Scott come in office in 2011, he changed. I think it was the Home Growth Act. I can't remember what exactly. 1984 Growth Act. But what that used to be was you had to have everything in place. You had to have schools, you had to have infrastructure, you had to have police, everything in place before you could put development in. Because he wanted to grow the economy, he took all that out or just revamped a lot of it. And now all you had to have was sewer and water, which now they come in and do that. So, but what happened is, so now they're trying to find creative ways to get water. So now they're trying to go down deeper and now kind of getting some brackish water and process it and sell it back. But a lot of that is just not that we have to. It's just Swift Mud is telling these cities you need to quit pumping water because you're over pumping. But you go over here and buy this brackish water that's going to cost you 3 times as much. We have this actually going on right now in Polk County.
It's not the
And
same people that were selling us fluoride, was it?
yeah, well, same kind of deal. They just so it's corruption. There's
Yep.
people behind the scenes that are making money. They could care less about me and you. They care less about the average day taxpayer, and it's not being talked about. Like I said, right now in Polk County, it's called Polk Co-op, and that's what they're doing. And they're going to sell the water for 3 times as much as the cities can buy it now. And they're telling the cities you got to buy our water first before you can sell your water. And
Yeah.
so the average person's water bill was $75, fixing to go to $300.
It's coming here too because you hear a lot. There's the chatter about saltwater intrusion is getting louder and louder,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of time before they're wanting to sell us.
So it
water.
ain't so we can't always think about how can we create jobs or create more input. Really, I mean, you work hard and do thing. I think that's way. And I think in life, sometimes we've all have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever. I got like 3 going on right now, especially running for governor. So you have to do a lot of that. It ain't just stuff handed to you, But we can, as governor, make affordability better. Like number one, rental prices. Like I said, what's happening with rental prices is Blackstone are coming in here buying up full developments. They're running their rental rates up, and they're running the market rates on a house up, and they're doing that for a reason because obviously it grows their investment. If they go in and buy half the houses cheap, then they go and buy the other houses for 50,000 more. It just shows their profit, going up, and they're creating false markets. Then they're creating rental markets that me and you can't afford.
Yeah, and then the high density is screwing it up too. I mean, when my husband and we drive around old Florida homes, they had such nice, property lines. You
Yeah.
actually had grass between houses, and now they're building so many houses on top of houses. That alone is sucking, the
Yep.
water out of the ground, sewer. It's
Yeah.
like, why do we have to keep doing that?
Right.
Florida, our houses would be increasing in price just for having those lots the way they are,
Right.
and people might stay in those houses longer and pay off the mortgages,
Yeah.
because you can't find that kind of living anymore.
Right.
And
And
it
that's
just makes
one of my goals as governor is to stop rezoning and try to make future developments, at least 1 acre lots or 2 acre or 5 acre, 10 acre lots,
Mhm.
and make it where the developer give him an incentive to do that and quit raping and pillaging our land. You know what I'm saying? Because this 8-10 houses per acre is just ridiculous.
It really is. And when
Yeah.
people have a stake in their house, they have a
That's right.
stake in their county.
Yeah.
It's totally different than if you're just renting and then you have to move out because now the landlord has to raise your rent.
Right.
Because now he had a bunch of tenants that moved in with disabilities, and because of the new legislation that went in, they got to build to suit the disability,
Yeah.
and
I don't
there's
really
all
have a
kinds of crazy
problem.
stuff going on.
I don't really have a problem with some of those communities or developments, but they all have their place. And in our rural land outside of what do they call the zone?
Outside
Uh,
the urban area?
yeah, the urban development zones, I
Right.
don't think they should be looking to rezone like you said, and,
Yeah.
maybe limit it to 10 to
Well,
20
that's
acres.
well to me. That's what I want to do is just stop rezoning. No more rezoning. We're done. What you have is you have. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Sorry.
And because our infrastructure is 15, 25 years behind, depending on who you talk to. We don't have the infrastructure, and they're still allowing. It's thousands of permits a day are going through the state. And it's just
Yeah.
it's a
A
continuation that
and
has to stop.
what's scary, we almost saw it here where these companies send their representative to these little city councils to get them to annex their land so they get their foot in the door a different way there, and it's just, thank God there's people paying attention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
goes
Um,
back to the HB 180. And there's other legislation trying to be pushed, which is allowing them to come in. And even though me and you think we have a voice, they're trying to get legislation in, or me and you don't have that voice. No matter how many, you could show up by the thousands into a city commission room, and it ain't going to change because they're pushing this legislation that's going to try to go through to allow them to do what they want to do.
yeah,
Mm.
I've got a few more questions. Interrupt me anytime you want, Joanne. During DeSantis's reign, we saw a real strong support behind parents and students, especially throughout the whole COVID thing. We saw DeSantis really get behind Moms for Liberty and their candidates. Is that something a Governor Williams will be very forthcoming with and proactive with supporting real good candidates, conservative candidates in these other jurisdictions, especially school boards?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm obviously, it's I think government. So one thing I didn't do during, just to let you know, the answer to that question, maybe help you. I didn't mask, I didn't social distance, and I didn't shut down. Because we have a constitutional right. Right to assemble as a church and church body, that kind of stuff. So I didn't go by any of them regulations because it's obviously there was no science behind it. It's just they're obviously pushing their agenda, and that's me. I don't. I'm not, whether it's DEI or whatever it is. I'm not for that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You have a right as an American citizen. Obviously not to break laws that are in place. Common sense stuff. But no, I'm for mothers and families and the right. You know what I'm saying? If your kid don't want to wear wear, and like I said, it's the same way. I'm against. Obviously, I didn't do no shots or no COVID shots or none of that. And a lot of these kids, even you don't have medical freedom, which I see DeSantis pushing that. And it's good. If you don't believe in that, don't want to do it, then you should have that medical freedom. You shouldn't be forced into doing something that you don't believe in.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask you something and it just rolled off the top of my head.
What about farmlands, Bobby? What about the farmlands that we have? Are there any incentives to help these farmers that are just having to sell their parcels? Like we just lost 7,300 acres in
Yeah,
Indian River County, and that could have benefited residents if residents were able to buy 10,000 acres, or not
yeah,
10,000, but 10-acre lots, or
yes.
5-acre lots.
No, there needs to be, and there are incentives out there right now. There's just I think it opened up just a couple weeks ago more farmlands to be bought, but unfortunately, what I see is a lot of times these are the bigger ranchers, the ones that are in the know. It ain't for the small farmers or whatever, but I want to see more. That's what I want to see Florida preserved. I want to see agriculture preserved. I want to see the smaller farmers being helped. A lot of times it's always, and I'm not for them, but you see the big sugars getting money and the big this getting money and big this getting money. And the little guy, back to what I said before, the little guy is what makes it happen and they're struggling. And
Oh,
Oh,
we
we lost
lost
Bobby.
him. Hey, Mike, you think he could talk to Kelly Jackson? You think that's
I
up her alley?
I was just thinking about that too. Hopefully he comes back to us.
He'll be back. He's just I think his phone, he has like an alarm that goes off on his phone.
I think it's been a great interview so far. So if he
Yeah.
doesn't, thank God he's back. Yeah. Uh,
Hold
uh,
on, we're not hearing you.
we
Move
don't
your
have your audio.
Yeah, move your volume up and down like I had to.
Can't hear you, sir.
If it doesn't work, Bobby, go log off and log back on. That happens sometimes. Yeah, log off, pull out, and then come back in. Yeah, ask him about Kelly.
Don't mind us having some technical difficulties, which always happens.
Hey, that's technology. That's our,
Yep.
the internet. I wanted to ask him about the Florida being earmarked for data centers. He got fully off, so maybe when he comes back on.
Yeah, should be good.
Is that what that is? His name's still up there.
Yeah, he's offline, so there he comes.
Yeah, we
Okay, let
hear
me
you.
add you. Let me add you to the screen.
You could do this on your laptop, Bobby.
Well, I'm out of town, and
Oh,
so I forgot my laptop, and I'm on my phone. So
yeah. Let's put you. Can you put him in the middle? Oh
I
wait,
think so. Let me see this technology here. There we go.
there you go.
Now we're back to where we were. Speaking of, we've talked a lot about farmland. There's other elections other than the governor's election. Is there a specific candidate out there that you are kind of teaming up with or encouraging to do more?
yeah, so
How does that work?
we've been tying with Matt DeWelder. I think a lot of that just because same message. We're tired of corruption. We're tired of rezoning. We're tired of developers destroying Florida. So we had a venue with him in Hernando Beach, I think last Saturday. I think we have another venue with him this Tuesday. And it just seems like everybody who wants me wants him there. And so we've just been kind of, and no, I think everybody just wants to see us both win just because we're kind of the same platform,
Yeah, it's like the alt establishment.
Yeah,
It's
and we
not
are. We're
right.
non-establishment guys, and we're tired of we're not being bought. So that's kind of the two things we have. So really, the three things we have similar is non-establishment, against corruption and against destroying Florida.
So before I move on to some very harder questions, we are planning a new podcast with another colleague of ours called, her name is Kelly Jackson.
Mhm.
The podcast will be called Back in the Day, and she wants to emphasize on Florida pioneer farming, some like real small stuff, not big corporate stuff. And I think you'd be a great first guest for her on her new podcast. Hopefully you'll consider that.
Right.
Yeah,
Win or lose,
farming in your backyard. You live on 2 acres, learning how to farm and keep
Yeah.
growing natural foods.
Right.
Teaching residents how to do it and owning enough property to do it. You can't do
Right.
it on 0 lot lines.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Bobby, where did you go to high school?
Winter Haven High School.
Winter
Born and
Haven.
raised in Winter Haven.
And is that where you are? You're still in Winter Haven, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
My whole life.
Now, some of these might be too personal. You can
I
tell
don't care.
me.
Go ahead. Give it to me.
How old are you, Bobby?
Can I give a political answer? Or, that's 27. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
48.
48. Okay. Did you serve in the military or anything like that?
No,
That's
sir.
not on me neither. I
Yeah.
wished I did, but I wasn't right.
Well, for me, it was I had uncles that come back from Vietnam that were messed up, mentally. And so it really wasn't encouraged in our family. Mom didn't want me to go just because she's seen what happened to her brothers.
It's same here.
Hey,
I had a grandfather in Korea, and it really things just weren't the same afterwards.
Yeah, and I want to say I can't remember what he served, but I think he was in Korea too, or World War II, and he's had a drinking problem because of all that. A lot of them had drinking and drugs problem because of the war.
Yeah, we're not very far off.
Guys, I grew up in New York. Is that similar to like being in the war zone?
Depends.
I'm just kidding.
Sports. Do you have
Are you mentally challenged? Like they
No.
Do you have a favorite sports team, college, professional, anything like that?
Not really. Be honest with you, I've always been against the grain kind of guy. So we're from Polk County, and Polk County has got a lot of citrus industry, and a lot of citrus guys had big money, so they were Bull Gators, Florida Gators. So I was always a Seminole fan, just to rub them the wrong way.
Same here.
But yeah,
I didn't really even watch football.
Yeah, but
we relate more and more.
Yeah,
Were you ever part of the 4-H club?
No. I do a lot more. Mine's outdoors. I always did fishing and hunting. So a lot of the farming we do, you see me do tractors and that is deer hunting and kind of lean towards that kind of stuff.
Any college?
No, sir.
My
mom wanted us to go. I did about a semester of college, failed, then went another semester, failed. Then I said, you know what, this ain't for me. I just want to work for a living. So
You're giving me all the right answers because I'm
Yeah, I know.
getting the
Did you
resume
read that?
before.
Did you read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad?
no, I have not.
How about
I know what the rich dad poor dad's like. I've been that my whole life. So
so speaking of
I can write my own
married
book if you want to.
married with children?
Yes, married, and I have a 22-year-old daughter. Been married
Congratulations.
23 years.
No grandchildren yet, though, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
She's engaged, and we'll see where that goes.
Well, it's
Oh,
coming. Well,
We'll
congratulations.
see.
congratulations.
We'll see.
I'm glad, thank you for being so approachable. I had that other question. Joanne, you did want to ask about data centers, and I did want to follow up with New York and California, but Joanne, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so what, Florida was earmarked for data centers. What's your thoughts on that?
So anything that affects a taxpayer, I have a problem with, and it's back to big business, big corporations. So the problem with data centers, number one, is obviously they're going to eat up a lot of our land.
Mhm.
Number two, you're using a lot of water, which obviously we have water restrictions. Then they're
Mhm.
wasting that water, and they got to obviously, then now they're having to pump it back into rivers and polluting our waterways. So then obviously on top of that, the electricity is going to increase in electricity. So me and you now are paying more in our electricity bills because of demand they're putting on it. So anytime anything affects, to me, an average citizen, I have a problem with that.
Good answer.
Yep. New York and California. We see
Don't New York or California or Florida is what I say.
right.
That's
I mean, we
right.
see the shit show, pardon my French, in these
Yeah.
other blue states, in the migration coming from these states. I mean, we're lovingly welcome to right-minded people coming here, but what I mean, there's literally nothing Florida can do
No.
to
Well,
to these
the thing we
states.
can do, so we can stop building houses. So if we don't have houses, you're not destroying Florida. You're not wasting all our water. It's not obviously you don't have to have more of this, more of that to take care of that Florida. But then the houses ain't here. So I'll say this: if Disney World is full, can you still buy a ticket? No,
Nope.
they're
I
sold out.
love that philosophy. That's
So
mine
so
too.
Florida's full, and the reason being is we don't have the water, we don't have the capacity, we don't have that infrastructure in place. So we're full. So if we don't have the houses, they can't come here. So
Mhm.
and we're a great state. Believe me, I love Florida. I don't want to move nowhere else. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If we get the wrong governor in the next couple of years in terms, if I don't win, I feel us going in the wrong direction. And I think right now 800,000 people has moved to Florida since COVID, but 500,000 have moved out. So, I think that's what I read the other day. So,
Oh,
people are getting tired of the nonsense. So I don't mind the same way. So here's my answer with New York and stuff. We don't mind you coming here. But the reason why you came here is because y'all created the mess you have.
Mhm.
The mess didn't happen overnight. It's been 20, 30, 40, 50 years of you voting them same people in with them same ideologies. And the reason why Florida is great is because like people like Ron, I don't agree with everything he has, but he's at least stood up. Ron DeSantis stood up against a lot of nonsense,
He sure has.
and just like perfect example, if you're going to stand out in front of the car, you should get ran over. If you're going to be that stupid. So what I want to see as a governor, really to stop a lot of that, is if you're committing any kind of crime, you have no right for lawsuits or retaliation of that. You lose every kind of right once you're starting committing crime. So
Mhm.
these people are getting ran over. You shouldn't be an idiot. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be out there in the middle of the street doing that.
Obstructing the roadways.
Exactly. And if same way, if you see guys burglarizing people, and these people shoot them, and now that these families are suing these families because their son or kid burglarized, I mean, you should have no right. So
crazy.
if you're gonna come here and be stupid, you lose every legal right as a Florida citizen.
Trespass on my property
That's
and
right,
threaten my family.
100%. Well,
Can't-
he comes there to steal your car. He trips and falls because you have a bad sidewalk, crack in your sidewalk. The next thing you know, Morgan and Morgan suing you for 100 grand, and you're losing all this because some guy want to come commit a crime.
We can do a whole show on the insurance fraud in
Well,
this state.
Mhm.
I love that. That's one of my issues. I had a buddy of mine call me, a person we get food from. I'm in a large trucking industry, And he says, "Hey, you're probably in the next couple of weeks. I want to call you and I want to empty all my freezers out and give you stuff." I says, "May I ask why?" He says, "Well, I'm probably not going to say these words. If Morgan, we'll say it in a nice way. If Morgan and Morgan would go away, I'd be better. But he's having to shut his business down because of these faulty lawsuits that are going on,
Wow.
insurance fraud.
It's
That's
ridiculous.
sad.
And he's one of hundreds, if not thousands. That's we have an issue and problem with.
What was the name of your organization again, Bobby?
The Freedom Tour.
Freedom Tour. That's your campaign, right?
The Freedom. No. The
That's
Freedom
his
Tour is my ministry.
nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freedom Tour is your ministry.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look for my website, it's Bobby Williams for Florida Governor spelled out.com. So
Yep.
I've tried to make that. So if people's Googling for me, it's the first thing that comes up.
It did actually, because I was looking for it earlier. I wanted to make sure
It's long.
right?
People go, it's long, but yeah, but that when you Google, it's exactly what you're going to Google, and it's
Yep.
going to come up. So
Yeah, that's it. I've exhausted all my questions until after we hang up. I'll probably think of more.
that's fine.
But Joanne, did you have anything else?
No, we did good. Bobby came on Binford Chronicles, and we had a good session there too. And I think Bobby's a great candidate.
Yep.
I'm just real. I've gave my life to Jesus, which changed my life, and I understand. So it's about how can I help people. So I'm not to be bald. I'm not being moved or motivated by nothing, but how can we truly make Florida more affordable, and work for the average day, Florida citizen, and not big corporations and that. And that's what I truly, my heart is for, is what I want to do and what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Bobby, where can people meet up with you? The next few events you've got going on?
So you can go to www.bobbywilliamsfloridagovernor.com, and you can go on there, and it's got events and venues. You can click on there. So Monday we're in Leesburg. It's a big forum. It's actually got Paul Renner, James Fishback, and me. It's a forum. The other guys were Jay Collins he was already busy. He already had it pre-booked before they got to him. Then Byron's obviously is not coming. But so anyways, we got that Leesburg Monday. Tuesday I'm in Clearwater I'm not sure what restaurant it is, but I'm actually there with Matt DeWelder, where they're doing 2 segments back to back. And then I have to look at my calendar, but they go on, like I said, go on our website. It's there.
Awesome.
We keep it continuously. We're all over the state. I mean, we booked in the Panhandle. So we're just every day we're pretty much booking a venue somewhere across the state.
Well, Bobby, tell Matt we would love to have him on the board report or Binford Chronicles to the point podcast.
Text me, or I have your cell number, right? Because you text me, or do I have email?
Yeah, you have my cell. My cell number.
Just re-text me that way. Now, what I'll do is I'll text you his campaign manager lady, and Josie Gentry's her name, and she handles all that. So, and she'll be glad to get that for you.
Yeah, because we definitely need a good ag person.
Yeah.
Well,
it's prayerfully we can get that. If we can get me governor and him ag, man, I think Florida will be so much better. I just truly believe for at least the next 8 years we can make a huge impact and get Florida back to being Florida. Because that's don't New York my Florida is my message. It's like we don't want that here. Florida is awesome, an amazing state, and we want to keep it that way.
Yeah, don't blue our Florida.
All right, Bobby, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm going to kick it to a break, and we'll say goodbye here, and we'll come back just to close the show up with Joanne. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
Awesome.
So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, but I appreciate you answering my nonsense questions. It validates me.
Yes, sir.
It validates my being here. So. All right, Bobby, thank you. And again, congratulations and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
There's a kind of strength you can't buy or borrow. It's born in the fire, tempered by sacrifice, and carried by those who never stopped serving. Some heroes wear uniforms. Others wear scars. They're veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. Men and women who gave everything and still keep giving. At the Warrior Shield Foundation, we stand beside them, shoulder to shoulder, providing the support, the care, and the community they deserve. We're a proud nonprofit, a 501c3, built to protect those who protect us. We don't just serve our own. We help other nonprofits reach their missions too, because together, we make the shield stronger. Donate and help our cause. Help their cause. Because every act of kindness builds hope where the battle still rages inside. Join the mission. Donate today. Visit warriorshield.org. Because heroes deserve a foundation as strong as their sacrifice.
All right, we're back. I first of all want to say thank you to Bobby and his family for giving us an hour of his time. It's got to be crazy running for any office, especially governor. I mean, it's not like it's a county office and you're just traveling 30 minutes across county. I mean, governor, that's a big job, and it's a big budget, it's a big economy, and um, there's big questions, and we might have hit some of them, but there's definitely room for more. So I do appreciate him coming on, and thank you, Joanne, for making these connections and
Yeah.
getting these candidates on. I kind of wanted to let Bobby go because I wanted to address the elephant in the room. If you're following news in Indian River County, or if you follow some other news personalities, there's been big talk about the land banking going on in Indian River County or Vero Beach, Florida. Um, Former Newsmax personality Dennis Michael Lynch took to the airwaves to make this a Muslim thing, which got a lot of traction on X. And I did make a few comments on some other posts. And I know Joanne has also. It's been months now where Joanne really dug deep on this particular situation. And at the same time, other counties picked up on this. It was a hotbed issue in Palm Bay. It was a hotbed issue in Fellsmere, Vero, Indian River County, Port St. Lucie County. So it wasn't just Dennis Michael Lynch exposed this Muslim
Mhm.
epic city, because what we found out through Joanne's research is it is not a Muslim epic city. They share a name, and that's it, as far as we can tell through any investigations. It's called Epic Estates, and there's 1,000 other companies across the country named Epic or have Epic in their name. So I can understand their frustrations. Um, Joanne did the research. She did the hard work. She really put in the time and got facts. Now, uh, it we've realized it's not a Muslim thing. It's not a Sharia law thing, as far as we can tell. But it does present the other problem, like we talked with
Bobby,
Bobby, when it comes to the H-1B1 visa abuse and opportunities. Um, are these people here to assimilate, or are they here to reap the benefits? And the critical thing is, and you see this nationwide. Um, one community like this can change the voting demographic for the people who have been living in this place for generations.
mhm,
Um, and it doesn't take much before you see a Minneapolis in Florida, and your school boards and your city councils don't look the same. I'm not being bigoted, and I'm not concerned about one religion. Well, I am concerned about one religion over the others, but I don't see it as a religion. As far as the situation in our county, it appears, based on the representative's word, that these are Hindus and Christians, mostly software engineers, who've made this investment, who want to build a community, which, at whatever ignorance you can find in that, I can, so be it. But it's not an epic city, Texas,
mhm,
in Florida. And I think the former news personality, is misleading a lot of viewers. And
mhm,
and I know he knows better, because he's shared our content before. So I know
mhm.
the information's out there. It's not hard for these people to do just a little bit of research and figure out. Now,
And he could have asked us too,
he could have, yeah.
because he's
I
right
did
here
reach
in our
out. I did reach out to Venkatesh. Did I say it right?
Venkatesh.
Venkatesh. I can't say his last
Yeah.
name. I don't have it in front of me. But we've had conversation. Joanne's had conversation with him before, um, and I feel the guy is genuine. I don't know him though, um, and we extended the invite to him tonight to come on after Bobby. Due to logistics, he couldn't make it. We hope to have him on within the next week or so, because I think this, if what he's saying is true and he believes in it, and he's representing these 400 other people, I believe he should get out there and explain to people that he is not for Sharia law. The difference between Muslims and Hindus, maybe it's a big difference. If you don't, maybe do a little research. The only similarity is the color of their skin and the region they come from, um, but they're totally night and day different when it comes to beliefs. So
Mhm.
again, not saying I want a Hindu community right off of our interstate, but at the same time, I'm all for good, hardworking American citizens being a part of society. Now, if they're not, that's different. Um, but I wanted to get that out there. It was a lot in our back channel communications in the last day since this really blew up on Twitter again.
Yeah,
Uh,
our phones were blowing up, and it's like,
right.
I had put out a video out there saying what I found. Look, we have two issues here. Like you said, Mike, we have the multiculturalism that comes over and wants to build their community so it feels like they're back home. But that can change the demographics in a county that has 170,000 residents. And you've got 400 homes with two, four family members in it. That's a lot of people in your county, and it'll change the voting base as well, because most people from H-1B visas in other countries, they don't come over here voting conservatively. They come over here voting for open borders and more H-1B visas. So that's a pretty, I'm going to say it, it's a democratic point. And so
Yeah, well, let's hope they well, let's hope they're not voting if they're not citizens. But the critical part is the census again. Almost every show when we talk about immigration or H-1B visa abuse, it comes down to the census numbers also. Um, these people, like in Minneapolis, they don't vote. Most people don't vote anyways, right? So what do we care if all these people are here? But they get counted in the census. And based on your numbers in the census, determines how many representative and how many districts, or how many districts you would get, which in turns is how many
good
representatives are
point.
sent to Washington to sit in Congress. So a blue state who pumps in all these illegal immigrants knows they're not voting. Half the people don't vote anyways. Remember that, more than half. But they get counted, and they get to put another person in Washington to vote on behalf of their constituents. And the more blue states do that, the more seats they get. And the red states aren't doing that because they're following the laws, they're cleaning up voter rolls, and they're not allowing the illegal immigration as much as you see in blue states like Minneapolis and whatnot. So it's
Well, how does that green card work? Can they apply for, city positions as representatives? Could they be a city mayor? Could they be a school board member? Could they be a county commission member?
right. So this is good questions that legislators and citizens need to be pushing legislators to look at. Do you have to be a citizen to run for school board? I mean, you have to be a resident, but do you have to be an American citizen? Do you have to be an American citizen to be a county commissioner or mosquito district? All of these make a difference.
Hmm.
Maybe not mosquito district so much, but when you start seeing names pop up on these yard signs and they don't fit with the culture you're used to, nothing wrong with that. It should start raising red flags. And this is happening across the country, where school boards and city councils are overrun by people with not Christian Judeo values, and they're pushing out the ones who do have Christian Judeo values. The biggest problem with us in Florida is the school voucher, the school choice program. They're
Hmm.
taking the money, they're taking their kids out of school, they're taking the money with them, They're putting them in the classrooms at the mosque, and they're instilling their traditional values into these kids right under our noses, and they're taught to blend in. So this whole time until the word is set, they're assimilating with the one goal in mind to adapt to their laws eventually. So
Hmm.
I think at first when we started covering this, Joanne, I was kind of a little cringe because, we're building a business and it gets, we've already touched a few sheets of thin ice, but at the same time, if you're not willing to talk about this or approach it in a fair and open way, people just won't get it. And that's why I wanted to reach out to Vin Katesh, and I told him he had worries, concerns, maybe for his safety. You mentioned he's got a family,
Hmm.
but he's I can tell he's concerned, and I think he should be. But I think he should consider coming on the show and um, representing what he's saying on social media.
That would give him the human representation and the human presence. People can see who this person is, except instead of just watching what he said at the county commission meeting, and realize he's Hindu. And they could get on and ask questions, and he can answer questions. And it's I was upset about how this all went down with naming him as being part of Epic City because he has a family. And I know when we talked, he didn't want to get on. He wanted to keep it a low profile, and this was just throwing him out there in a very, very negative narrative that I didn't think was fair, because in all my research I could not tie. Yeah, he's in Texas. There's other things that are in the area that are very, that make you say, okay, well, come on, it's, but he's not. I could not find anything that pointed him right
Right.
to it, and because I can't find that, I'm not going to say it because it's not true. I can't tell you, look, he's totally connected. If I can't say that, I'm not going to say that.
Well, I have some real questions for the guy, but then again, we've always been fair and open-minded and reasonable with all of our guests. We don't do anything pre-scripted. We don't. I mean, we don't. We might huddle beforehand, but there's never a like, hey, let's not go here unless it's somebody's personal business. We don't do that. So I mean, we offer him a fair and open platform. Vin, if you're Vin Katesh, can I call you Vin? uh
Yeah, you can
or
call him Ben.
if one of your friends are watching, if you're friends with him, please encourage him to come on. We're not gonna bash him. We won't edit anything to make him appear to say anything he's not. We're very fair, and we'd like to be balanced, but at the same time, we're very conservative, and we're also very conservative with our county. So, having said that, that's all I got for tonight, Joanna. I'm pretty sure I'll probably forget something, but
Yeah, and I just got to say, Lynch, stop spreading false narratives. And it's starting to look like you're just trying to get clicks.
yeah. And instead of just sharing our stuff, go ahead and follow.
Yeah, follow
I've
and
saw the shares, but doesn't follow, or maybe he does follow now. I don't know. But
yeah,
anyways, if you're watching at home, make sure you click that thumbs up button. If you don't follow us already, follow us. If you're watching on Rumble right now, I do apologize. It is not live. I will
yeah,
upload it after the fact. There's something going on, and I'll try to get to the bottom of that. But
yeah.
uh, make sure you
Well,
follow, like, and subscribe.
and yeah, share it. Share.
Yeah,
Right?
share Bobby's interview. I think it was a great
Yeah.
conversation, and I think he got some questions he wouldn't normally get from other interviewers. So I'd like to think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah. And hopefully
Joanne,
we'll get the what's the other guy's name?
Matt the welder,
Matt the welder. Hopefully
who
we'll bring
actually
Matt the welder on.
legally changed his last name last week to Welder. So
That's pretty funny.
these guys have a very steep uphill battle.
Yeah, they do.
But I got to give it to them because so do we. Like when you put us up against the DMLs, the Dennis Michael Lynch's, and those other people with huge followings, we're on an uphill battle to get our message out too. So whether we are going to vote for them or not, we offer them the platform, and we hope you enjoyed the questions. And hopefully next time we'll get some more questions in the comments. So share the show, like Joanne said. Joanne, you got anything else?
Nope, let's close it out. Good night, guys.
Okay. Good night, guys.